Hello, I'm Jennifer Dunlap with the Pennsylvania Parks and Forests Foundation, and today we're celebrating Giving Tuesday by giving thanks to you, our supporters, volunteers, and friends. Your support enables our work, furthering our mission of stewardship for Pennsylvania's 121 state parks and 2.2 million acres of state forest. We have with us today Steve Wood, Community Manager for Public Lands, and Nick Salkeld, co-owner and brewer at Stick City Brewing Company, here to share tips on camp cooking as well as doing a demonstration on how to cook with beer. They'll also be sharing details about their recent collaboration, which resulted in the Let's Enjoy Together IPA, a beer that benefits PPFF. We invite you to submit your questions and comments in the chat box. Welcome, Steve and Nick. I'm going to turn things over to the two of you now.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen, for having us. And yeah, I'm Nick, just so that everyone knows that the difference between us two. I got the Stick City hoodie on. I'm Nick Salkeld with Stick City Brewing here. We're actually in the tap room right now. And
hi, I'm Steve. Thanks for having me, Nick, and happy to be part of this, Jen, with the Pennsylvania Parks and Forests Foundation.
Yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, we're doing camp cooking today. I think the approach, the way that we're doing it right now, just so that we can kind of calibrate it, is to, this is more of like a front country style, or like maybe if it's not something that's particularly like backpacking or ultra lightweight. So we actually have an old 2-burner stove here that I use a lot in a camper van that my wife and I have. And I actually have some potatoes going right now. So I kind of prepared this one a little bit beforehand. I boiled the potatoes so that we could keep things rolling along here. But I'm going to prepare some boiled potato or some fried potatoes and a piece of Wagyu filet, which actually you might think that that'd be a little bit ridiculous to have that, but that's what kind of makes this fun. It was in a shrink wrap prepackaged thing, so it's something that as long as you have a cooler, you can put it directly in there and it won't get saturated with the water or make the cooler water look funny. So I'm going to be preparing that, and
yeah, and so I'm going to try to complement what Nick's doing over here on the 2-burner setup with some side dishes and some of that camp coffee with various things that you can find. You can find things at your local grocery store. You can get things that are more camp specific, whether it's for backcountry, front country. Those prepackaged side dish where you can just add water to make it convenient. And one of the things I know Nick and I had talked about is just how cooking for camping can be very simple, and it could also be very elaborate, however you cook at home. So it's cool to see his setup over here that he takes in his camper van, and if you can smell it, it's already getting there.
I wish we had the ability. We're not the biggest tech folks as far as audio visual, but yeah, we actually have it's cooking right here. I wish we could show you guys, but actually right now is a good time. And just so you know, I'm actually just using those small red skin potatoes that I cut into fours, pre-boiled them, so it just needed water for that. And I actually put in a little bit of butter, but you necessarily wouldn't have to have that. You could bring something that's a little more stable, like an olive oil, another type of fat to cook with it. But if you can bring butter along, it certainly helps. So I just cut them in cubes, boiled it, put it into the pan. They're turning nice golden brown right now, and this is a good segue. So I like to add a little bit of beer sometimes, and it seems like a starch like this, you can always add just a little bit, and it'll add a nice flavor to the potatoes. So this is our collaboration beer with Public Lands and PA Parks and Forests, the Let's Enjoy Together IPA, and it features hops from New Zealand called Riwaka and Waiheke. So I'll get rolling into this and add that in. I'll be finishing up these potatoes here soon.
And sometimes one of the things that's nice, like Nick did, not just since this is a webinar and prepping things ahead of time, but if you know you're going to get into camp and you want to be able to get that meal started quickly, boiling the potatoes before you go and just throwing them in the skillet like Nick did here is a great way to make it easier once you are away from your home kitchen.
Absolutely.
Prepping things like that at home is sometimes a good way to go.
and they're very stable. And once they're cooked, I mean, potatoes generally are, but once they're cooked, you could refrigerate them. They'll last, quite a few days, as long as they are kept cold. So, yeah, well, I'm ready to get these potatoes off. I'm gonna put them onto a plate here, just for the time being, and I'm gonna roll into doing that steak. So if you don't mind, Steve, you might roll into the...
Yeah, and while you're doing that, I'll just highlight some other things. Ramen, whether it's front country or back country, ramen's always a great choice. That's really easy to make as a side dish or to be a main meal where you can add some things to it. Simple as boiling the water. Canned vegetables and things like that are really nice for that car camping and front country setup because it's simple. Everything's ready to go. You can dump a can of beans into a dish or add that extra protein if you're looking for something to have a little bit more substance to the meal. Canned beans are a great way to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're weight conscious, that might not be the best, but there's these other options that you can get. The Nor's packs, I think they're $1 each. Generally, they just need water. You always have your classic ramen. Rice-A-Roni, this one, you don't even need to add water to it, except maybe just a little bit to help it steam back up. It's already pre-cooked. So, yeah. I'm going to throw this steak on. And while that's going on, we have a little bit of time. Steve and I might have a wee sip of this beer. So it's 5.5% alcohol. I guess, Steve.
Thank you.
Cheers. Cheers. Again, those New Zealand hops, it gives really nice flavors of like ripe grapefruit, a little bit of a white grapiness, and there's this nice little herbal touch. It's kind of like a fruity herbal essence at the end of the drink. Very refreshing, very light, very approachable. It's not overly bitter. I know the IPA name can maybe sway some people away from it, but the way that we brew them here is very balanced, lower on the bitterness scale, and more towards the highlighting the aromas and flavors of the hops.
A lot of great feedback from friends and family already on this one. Stick City does a great job with anything they brew, so really excited to be part of this collaboration and represent public lands here, and really thrilled that this is going back to Pennsylvania Parks and Forest Foundation with that give back component that we're more than thrilled to
Absolutely.
participate in.
I don't know if we said it, 20% of all the sales of this beer throughout the time that we had it is going back to the group, and Public Lands, the PA Parks and Forest group that is, and Public Lands is going to do a match on that amount. So that's something for Stick City that's really important for us. Our vision is to find ways to help people to connect to and to find it in their own interest to want to protect and get out and enjoy, any wild area. It might even be a small park near your house, or it could be something that's, one of the national park systems that's a public land. So it's something for us, it blends really well with Public Lands, with their mission to celebrate, protect public lands. It blends really well to us. It just seemed like a natural fit to do something like this with, especially celebrating PA Parks and Forest Foundation, because of our state parks and state forests. We're just so lucky to have them here. We don't have entrance fees like other states, so very accessible. They're very well maintained. Yeah.
What's your favorite local PA park or forest?
Mine has to be probably, and it's sort of western. It's more western Pennsylvania here, just north of I-80, called Clear Creek State Park. That was the first one that maybe it wasn't the first that I went to, but it was the first where I really got a connection to fishing with my dad. We took an old Toyota pickup truck and we slept in the back, and it rained all night long, and his feet got soaked, and I was a kid, so I wasn't as long to get my, for my feet to get soaked, so I was comfy, luckily, because that could have probably made the trip really miserable. But from that time forward, it was just, that park has held a special place in my heart, and just recently, this past fall, we went up there and planted some trees it was money that we donated through PA Parks and Forest, went towards the trees, and we went up and did some volunteering to help plant them. I think we did over 25 plantings bushes and trees. So it's nice to see that.
Yeah, that's great. It's definitely an amazing resource we have in Pennsylvania. We may not have the Rocky Mountains, but we have all this wilderness, and thanks to organizations like PA Parks and Forests Foundation, we have a really great network of trails and beaches and bike paths and all kinds of accessible, user-friendly amenities for us in Pennsylvania. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, so this stove I'm cooking on, in case anyone's interested, it actually was, my grandmother got it, and my dad and I think that it was from a garage sale. It's an old Primus, what they call a gourmet, 2-burner stove. I think each burner puts out about 10,000 BTU, which is the standard. It's like classic cook stove. It's got a cool, I think it's from the 80s, I believe, or maybe even the 70s perhaps. Just looking at it. Love cooking on it. Just have a nice simple GSI outdoors aluminum skillet. Packs up really well. I don't know, it's really sweet. The steak's getting pretty close to being done too.
And those 2 burners, they're very much like cooking at home if you're familiar with cooking on gas. If you're used to electric, it doesn't take too long to get used to it, but they haven't changed. If that one's from the 70s, it looks pretty similar to the ones they're putting out today because they're very, very simple and easy to operate and take that experience from the kitchen to the backcountry or front country for car camping. My setup over here, I'll just the water's boiling right now. This is as easy as it gets, and this is typically something that you would do very often for backcountry or when you're backpacking and you are concerned with how much weight you're carrying. These backcountry meals, Mountain House is this one. They always come with this little, that little packet that you have to throw away just to preserve. So make sure you pull those out. But it is as simple as just adding the water. You can't add them right into the bag. When you're, having car camping, it's nice to serve it into a bowl and have that experience of kind of what you would recreate at home.
Go ahead. I think folks would be really surprised. I think, if you've never tried these meals like Mountain House, sometimes folks call these MREs, or what are they? It's the meal ready. I don't know what the acronym stands for. Basically, like a military type of a meal where they might get this rap of being bland. These are not bland. I enjoy eating them a lot, actually. Yeah, and it's literally just add water.
They can be high in sodium, but you can find a bunch of different mixes. These ones, you typically let sit for a little bit. You can seal it back up. Let that water absorb because that's all it's doing. It's reabsorbing the hot water. You can have different versions of this. I mean, you can even let it absorb that water over time if you really want to be minimalist and not carry fuel in the stove.
That's true, yeah.
But they do taste good, like Nick's saying. But they also, it's fun to mix it up. And if you buy, like one of these rice sides, and you can bring your own vegetables to add, you can bring your own protein to add, whether it's actually fresh meat or a can of beans or something that has been freeze dried, to be able to kick it up and kind of do your own creation. Especially once you start using these, if you develop a taste for certain things, it's fun to play around, mix it up in your own kitchen, and then go try different things out on the trail or at a campsite.
Yeah, and typically one of the things we do, like I know mine was like bringing a meat along. All depends on what you're doing, but if you're going to be away from, being able to have refrigeration or ice, we always like to bring like the good meal, like the steak and the potatoes, and you're going to cook it up, and more of a fresh meal on like the first night. First night of camp, something we always talk about in our family. It's the special one when you might be coming together with your friends or your family. So first night of camp's kind of like the hurrah, everyone's coming together, you're excited for the trip, the anticipation's there, you're finally getting away from the day-to-day hustle and bustle. So bringing something extra nice for that first night, like a steak, a piece of filet steak, and getting it ready gets you, amped up for the rest of your adventures. And then, maybe then you're not going to be near places where have refrigeration or a cooler because you're going to be backpacking or, depending on however far back you want to go. Or it's just, you know, then you can have your stuff that doesn't require all the refrigeration, like, you know, these things here. That's just our approach on it.
Yeah, it's fun to have the food. You know, we just celebrated Thanksgiving. Having that celebration around food, it's such a great thing to do away from home, at a campsite, in the local park, where you can get everybody involved, friends, family, you know, kids. You can have kids help out. The kitchen is where most of the accidents do occur, the camp kitchen. So you always want to be careful there. Boiling water is one of the big ones. So you just want to be careful, but you can have the kids, you know, help open the packages up if they're just, you know, tearing them open, or stirring the mix once the water is added, and get that participation, so everybody has a stake in the meal, and then you enjoy it together, and it's just a much better experience. It pairs well with let's enjoy
nice beer. Yep, I'm gonna actually get a little bit more of that. Cool.
This is about ready to put on the plate there.
Let me get this steak cut up. I was letting it rest there while we were chatting away. A little pre-slice on it.
So one of the cool things about, you know, using some of this pre-made stuff is it gives you an opportunity to take less stuff if you really want to. If you don't want to take the whole setup and have the big skillet and the whole plates, and you want something simple, you know, bring something that's already in a package. You can bring a small stove that has these small canister stoves that this is like a propane, but an isobutane mix with a stove that screws on top, so it can be really portable, whether you're car camping or you are going off onto the trail. What I'll start to prepare here in a second is some of the camp coffee, which is one of my favorite things after the meal, after a day of hiking, after a day of fun, enjoying a beverage, but I like that evening camp coffee. It's one of the things I look forward to. I like it in the morning camp coffee as well. So whatever your preference, there's a few different ways that you can do that, including bringing that coffee that you have at home and brewing it in a couple of different ways. So some of the examples I brought here are using. You can use your different stove. This is called the Pocket Rocket by MSR. This setup here is by Jet Boil, and that's just going to boil the water really quickly. You can actually get that up to temperature in about a minute and a half, depending on what you're making. And for these, there's two different pour overs I'll demo here in a second. This one, Sea to Summit makes this, and you just put your grounds right into this collapsible pour over setup. You can put that on top of your personal mug. You can put that on top of a larger container to make, you know, more than one serving. This is a single serve that actually fits right over top. They come in these packets here, and it's as simple as opening it up and just attaching these wings over top of the mug. And then you take your hot water, and with the pour over, you do it slowly, and you fill up as much as your container can hold. For this would be one serving, and this one, when you are using it just in your mug, you use a similar amount, whether you like it strong or not so strong. You can control that by how many coffee grounds or how much coffee grounds you put in. So,
yeah, I think one of the unique things, you know, people who like craft beer are also typically folks that like really good coffee, and they like it a specific way, like a pour over or a drip or a coffee press. All of those ways or even stovetop through like a percolator. That's what I typically do when I'm out. There's a percolator where you put the coffee grounds in and it perks up. It's more of an old school mid-century style approach. That's all available in lightweight, or is, you know, you can go high end with the titanium or like a polished stainless, or like the single use with the pour over that way. That's really awesome. You know, it allows you to really connect. You know, you get to have the nice things in maybe an environment that could be cold, and you have the cold fingers when you're putting your coffee together. We always talk too about, you know, when you make some of this stuff, if you were to make it at home, you know, if it's something like these mountain houses, it's maybe not your favorite. like the dehydrated meals that you rehydrate, when you're out in the environment in wild places, it's gonna taste good. It always comes across as being, you're like, it just hits the spot in a different way, and it only happens when you're out amongst the elements. So this is one of the things I think is super cool, and I haven't really been following along with different ways for coffee. It's amazing to see all the different ways. These jet boils are amazing too. That water's just
I think that's already boiling.
It's insane.
And with that, it's one of those things. So I'm gonna just turn the stove off now. The setup this has that insulated sleeve, so you actually have a handle here as well, and you can just unlock it from the stove and pull it right off. And now I'm able to take that hot water and do a pour over in each of these mugs.
And I don't have one of those yet, but I already see an immediate benefit, talking about the safety aspect. Being able to grab a heated pot that way it's just smart business. Because I don't know how many times in boiling water it hurts no matter how cold your hands are.
Yeah. And whether you're someone that likes a really good cup of coffee or a good beer or that steak, these kind of creature comforts that you can decide what's going to make that experience for yourself. And I think everyone that gets out there and has an experience where they bring something from home, whether it's food or a version of it that's different, like these dehydrated meals, you're bringing that out to a wild place that just enhances the kind of next point, kind of your appreciation of it. And if you're someone that enjoys a really good cup of coffee, it's just that extra bonus if you're waking up on a cold morning and there's frost over everything and you're able to make that coffee. And the process of making it is an experience in itself to be able to enjoy it. And there are days where you wake up and you just want something, there's various instant coffees that taste pretty good, and you can have your experience be drinking the cup of coffee in the nice place next to the river or out on a mountain, and not go through all the work of having to grind coffee or do a pour over setup.
Right.
But it's all for the user to decide.
It is, which is awesome. I think another thing to make note of too is the different types of utensils that are out there. This is a titanium sport from a company called Snow Peak. So it's an old sport type design. It's got the fork on the top, and it's also a spoon. Very simple, extremely lightweight. It can do a lot. You'd maybe use your pocket knife if you had it. But then there's also these are really expensive. They're only just a few dollars. It has a fork on the end. There's even a serrated edge, and you may not be able to see it from how far behind we are, and a spoon side. So it's all packaged into one. Those are really nice, also lightweight. And then you can go with your conventional type camp cookware, which is just regular silverware. That's what we keep in this pantry that we have for our camper van. So kind of have a little bit nicer stuff because you're not so much worried about weight in terms of nicer in the sense that it's more familiar. Then there's even like these pocket knife style ones that you'll see. Typically when you're checking out at some of the outdoor stores, they'll have these hanging there. So it has your spoon on it, and it folds up. It even has, if you're in for the wine, it's got one of them too. And there's a knife and whatnot, a bottle opener or can opener in there. Those are really neat to have. We got one of those in there as well. You never know when you're going to need that stuff. So. And
a setup like this, like looking, if you can see the setup behind Nick that he has. The longer you do it, the more you do it. If you have all these things together, it makes it really easy to have that experience more often. To be able to put everything back, put it back clean, just grab it and go. But also that shouldn't be intimidating. If you've never done this before, you can take the pots and pans that you use in your kitchen, or you can go to the thrift store and get some cheap stainless steel ones for a couple bucks that are going to be your camp set of cookware. And yeah, over time you might accumulate the stove that you really want, or whatever it might be, getting a set of enamel plates and bowls that's just for camping. But it doesn't have to be an intimidation. There really is no barrier to taking something that you would eat at home to a campsite. Even if that's just going to be taking the plates and bowls that you already have, or what I always did was looking for those ones at the thrift store that can just go into a bin at the end of the camping trip once it's clean, and there's bowls and plates and silverware and canned pots that are ready to go.
That is absolutely true. I mean, there is a spectrum of availability to I guess access into this if maybe you're not in it now, but you might want to. Just that, I mean, the dollar stores, there's those plastic, I know there's the plastic plates. I bought those in college. You'd have them in your dorm room. They might be 50 cents or $1. So those are perfect. They're lightweight, they're cleanable. It's not paper. You can go the route of getting disposable, but then you got to worry with all that waste. Anytime that I've been dealing with that on a camp trip, it's more of a burden than it is a help. You think it's a convenience because you don't have to do any dishes or anything, but then you have all this waste and food scraps that's in your garbage that just makes it a lot harder. So definitely, I'd recommend going the route of trying to find that, if you're trying to get into it for on the cheap, the dollar store type approach, and I'm sure even Walmart has like the real inexpensive type of.
And whatever you can reuse, the better. That especially when you're camping, to get rid of the single-use things you have to put it somewhere. Not every campsite has a dumpster that's locking, or what animals are going to get into it while you're cleaning up and that kind of stuff. So the reused ones are definitely the way to go.
Well, do we want to get this other stuff on the plates?
Yeah.
We can at least get it out there.
I got another one.
Go for it. Yeah. So we're just going to put the Mountain House. It's like what is that, curry?
Yeah, this is a Thai curry. Just rice blend and some chicken. So it can be a meal in itself, or be split it amongst a couple people. It could be that side dish.
I think typically these are servings for two, those Mountain House.
Yeah, they are.
So that's one thing to keep in mind if you're looking at it and you're like, wow, that's expensive for what appears to be one meal. They are actually two.
This is that kind of a quinoa mix. I probably didn't add enough water, but that's something that you experiment with, and obviously if you're someone that sticks to recipes to a T, you'll put exactly what they say in there. But even in those situations, you might find yourself adding more water or not wanting to add as much as they recommend, just because it depends on when you're cooking it, how you're cooking it, as to what you're going to use.
Right. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know if I could even figure out how to show that. It's kind of hard. I'd hate to move the camera because we might lose the camera, but you can see
it'll slide off the plate.
It's sliding. We got our steak on there pre-cut. It looks like a nice medium rare. The couscous quinoa type of that's Patagonia Provisions. They call it organic savory grains. Yeah, with mushrooms, some things I can't say, and then the other one's the yellow curry from Mountain House. So it looks like a nice balanced meal right there. You might say if you had some fresh vegetables, you could balance it out with something like that, but a lot of times, those extra calories, if you're going to be outside a lot, it's not a bad thing. So, yeah, I don't know. Got some questions or folks that want to ask anything, or Jen, if you want to have any questions for us, or maybe we missed something that we should have done. We're not the most experienced at this, but.
Oh, you guys did an awesome job. I'm hungry over here now.
Yeah, that Wagyu steak looks pretty delicious on here. I'm pretty excited to give it a try.
I can't wait to try the Let's Enjoy Together IPA. Can you remind folks where they can get that right now?
Yeah, so right now, we're a small brewery. We're located just north of Pittsburgh in a small town called Mars, which is fun in itself. If you come visit us, there's a lot of Martian alien type activity through town that the town has fun with. But yeah, we have it available in the tap room right now for sale in cans that you can enjoy it here on premises, and also take some with you to go. It's $18 a 4-pack to go, which is about a half gallon of beer in the 4-pack format, which is this right here. Again, 20% of the sales are going to the group with a match from public lands on it. We're excited to do it again. I'm sure we'll have something else coming out beer-wise if you happen to miss this one. But yeah, right now it's just available at the tap room in Mars. So, but we still have some left. At least, I'm going to say at least 10 to 15 cases. So
you got to get here. You got to get here quick.
Yeah.
It's not gonna last.
I'm definitely ready to come out for a visit, especially if you're going to cook cook for us and provide beer too. We're there. You both gave a lot of great ideas just for holiday giving for all the beer and outdoor folks on my list. Are there any events or sales, anything special that you want to mention at either Public Lands or Stick City that's coming up in December?
Yeah, so I'll jump in real quick. We have we have a lot of different classes and events at our store. One of the areas that we like to try to explore is different sustainable options. So there's an upcycle that ugly Christmas sweater or ugly holiday sweater event going on at the store coming up, and then we have a lot of rock climbing events at our store where we have our actual rock wall and our team there that can take everyone from kids to experienced climbers up the wall, the different evening and group climbs. But you can find that on our website at publiclands.com/classes and events. And then I'll turn it over to Nick.
Yeah, so I guess maybe our hours would be a good thing to note. We're Thursday through Sunday tap room open hours where you can come in on the inside of the brewery here. We have a sit-down bar. You can actually order a 10-ounce and a 15-ounce size to have on premises. We do have a lot of beer to go. Most of it is in cans to go. It's very easy to take the cans out. We do fill growlers when we don't have cans available to go for certain brands. We do actually have a small fundraising day coming up here, and I think it's the 11th of December, but we'll put it up on we don't have it published on our website yet. Our website, stickcitybeer.com, on our events page, lists what food trucks we have because we don't have a kitchen here, and also our events. But we had a couple home brewers that we have a good relationship with, and they came in on National Learn to Homebrew Day, which was last month. Actually, it was, I think, at the beginning of this month. And they brewed a beer here on site, and folks got to see that. And they put it into a traditional real ale style, which is an English style keg, and we'll tap it old school ways. Like you tap the keg right there with a hammer and this special tap, and then we'll be giving that beer away to raise money for a local trails group here, Trail Adams. So in the township that we're in Butler County, they have a small trails group that they're helping to get a lot more trails around for people to hike on, walk, ride bicycles. It's more of like to connect all the access points or where these trails might connect with one another. So they're a good group, so we're going to be raising some money for them. I think it is December 11th on Saturday. With that beer, those homebrewers will be back that day to help serve it. It's always a fun time. Last year we did one for a wild bird group that helps birds whenever they get hurt maybe, and they need attention, and they actually bring them, like basically some of them almost like back to life. And they deal with all the birds. So that was a good group. I think it was almost $800 we raised last year, so we're hoping for something similar this year for the trail group, and that would be on the 11th. Yeah.
Well, that's great. So I just want to encourage anyone who's viewing to make sure that they're following not only Pennsylvania Parks and Forest Foundation, but also Stick City Brewing and Public Lands, their websites. And I know we're all on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. So to stay tuned for all of these great upcoming events. We did receive 2 comments. We have love those ready to go bins. We have those campers out there that like all of their meals prepared and ready to go.
That is true, yeah. That definitely makes it easier.
And we have, I'll say the magic words, I don't like IPAs and I like the let's enjoy together. So
awesome, love to hear it. Nice.
So
it's almost juice-like, if there's a way to describe it, as opposed to bitter, which might be what most folks think. We've had a lot of
refreshing.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Okay, well, I just want to thank you both. On behalf of PPFF, we are just so happy about this collaboration, about the partnership with both Stick City and Public Lands, and we look forward to working with you all. And thank you to our viewers. Please continue to follow along with us for upcoming programs.
Thanks for having us. Yep.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.